Hello and welcome to another of the Listen with Vobes, and I am Richard Vobes, and again this is another one of these. We're looking at this wonderful book, The Charm of the Road, and I'm looking around making sure that the volume is going out and that we are actually streaming. And welcome if you are watching live. I'm sitting over here because the lovely Julia is sitting over here.
Hello.
And we've got three cameras on today. We've got me, and over on the other side we've got the lovely Julia, who, as you can see, is doing all the knobs, controlling and all of that. And I don't know which camera I'm on. That one over there. Brilliant.
Neither did I then, and I'm the one doing the buttons.
You're doing the buttons. I know it is all good fun. So I've got my hat on. I haven't got a scarf on today. It's a little bit warmer up here. Are you warm enough?
At the moment, yes.
But we will be taking back to the car as we go journeying around on James John Hissey, The Charm of the Road. And I shall be reading. Julia will be looking at the maps, which we've got on the screen in a second. Over here. And we were in Horsham, and you'll need to go to the other tabs on the computer at the top there to get us going. And you know which button to press. It's just the middle one.
This one.
Yes, there we go. Perfect. There we are. We are now familiar with the operations of the car. Our car is slightly different to James John Hissey's car, which was around in 1909. So anyway, we were in Horsham. He got as far as Horsham, and as I mentioned last time, that is actually my hometown of the past. I grew up there from 5 to 18 years. So we looked briefly at that. So anyway, we did a little bit in Horsham, but we got more to go. And hopefully, as people come along, Julia can see the chat and she can tell you who is there. And she can... Is anybody there?
Yes. We have Sean James Cameron and Jane UK.
Fantastic. Do let us know if you can hear us all right and all of those things. So, leaving the Bull Ring, we found ourselves at the Causeway. Now, the Causeway is in Horsham, and Julia can show us that if she can find it. I know exactly where it is. It is down here. I'm just pointing on the thing, near the church. So that's the Causeway just there. There you go. A very picturesque feature of the place, having a long line of pollard limes on one side of it and a row of quaint old houses on the other, with an ancient church of many mingled styles at the end of it. I think it's St. Mary's, if my memory serves me correctly.
I think so.
The church has a tall and slender steepled roof with wood shingles. Its exterior is pleasing, but within it is plain enough to satisfy the sternest Puritan. At some time, it's been thoroughly restored, which is actually true. It contains some interesting, though much mutilated monuments, especially the altar tomb of Lord Burrows, who died in 1396. Now, I'm saying that, I'm just looking here because there's a bit of a thing on there, but it must be 1396, and who is represented in an effigy of a knight in full armour. This is worthy of attention as showing the details and method of wearing ancient armour. There is also a very interesting brass dated 1411 on the chancel floor of a full-robed ecclesiastic, in fact. Ecclesi for you to say. Though, and Julia, I think, is finding some pictures of the interior of the church, which does look very nice, doesn't it? Look at that. There you go. It is a nice church. I've been in there a few times. It's funny, isn't it? When you live in a place, you often don't go to some of the best-known places in it. But it's only when you go back, and I have been back a few times. And interestingly, a fact about the Causeway, not the Causeway, the St. Mary's Church, is it's right near a place which is quite unique because you've got the River Arun, you have the railway and a road where they all converge, and where they converge you've got river, road and railway all in one place at one crossing, which is quite rare. Anyway, I say it's quite rare. It may not be as rare as all that with all the roads that they're building. And is that the effigy?
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh wow, look at that.
Thomas Brose, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
There he is. Fantastic. Lord Burrows died 1396 in his armour. So there we go. Anyway, though head to foot... Hang on. Apparently his head and foot has gone. I'm just reading this. Oh, this is on the brass. Though head and foot of this is gone, the robes remain, showing a richly engraved chasuble, or chasuble, I think it is, a richly engraved chasuble, crossed stole, and alb, A-L-B, I don't know what that is, an A-L-B, alb. The Church of Rome realises the glamour that gorgeous vestments have, for some minds, though not all. Writing of Ely, William Winter, the American Shakespearean scholar, says, in the stillness of the cathedral, with no sound of human voice, and no pure ecclesiastical prattle to call you back to earth, you must indeed be hard to impress, if your thoughts are not centered upon heaven. It is the little preacher in his ridiculous vestments. It is the man with his vanity and folly that humiliates the reverent pilgrim in such holy places. I'm going to the chop house. Oh, sorry, that was W.C. Fields. Some years ago, I was benighted at a rural Sussex inn, the landlord of which gave me the use of his little sitting room for the evening, as the coffee room was crowded with a noisy company. There I found stowed away in a cupboard a curious assortment of ancient magazines and pamphlets, some of over a century ago, and some even much older. For want of anything better to do, I took the liberty of looking over these dusty and musty publications, many relating to bygone Sussex, seeking entertainment, and finding it by making jottings in my notebook of various items I came upon that struck me as interesting. Do you do that? Do you on number 2? There we go. She's got to be alert on 2, lots of things here. Do you do that, make notes in little notebooks and things when you find things interesting?
Yes, and then I subsequently forget where I've put them.
Oh.
And then I find it years later, go, when did I think that? That must have been in...
I've got notebooks with various bits and bobs. I've got a notebook where I love taking, and I haven't done it for a while, where I take phrases and I write them down because they're just so interesting. And I did that, and I think I read some of them to you some while ago, a little notebook, in which I take phrases from books. And Laurie Lee's I Stepped Out One Midsummer Morning has just these beautiful expressions in it. And I love doing that. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it for the sake of. So anyway, he's making these jottings in his various notebooks. It was fortunate find, for many and curious were the extracts I secured. He does go round, doesn't he? It is interesting. He goes round, he does sort of scribble down all these epitaphs and these phrases you see on... he writes little poems that you say, I'm just trying to think what you call them.
Yes, me too now.
Yes, what are they, little ditties? Anyway, he does write them down. Anyway, it was a fortunate find, for many and curious were extracts I secured, and the clock struck midnight before I was finished making them. I don't know whether the church is open till midnight these days. On looking over these notes, I find a few things concerning Horsham. Horsham, I discovered, was early in the 14th century famous for its manufacture of well-sharpened arrowheads, with tuft shafts and bolts for crossbows. It's interesting because just down the road from Horsham is, of course, Sisbury, during the Neolithic time, where flint and arrowheads would have been knapped. But I don't suppose that's quite what they were thinking about. These were packed into barrels and taken from time to time to the Tower of London, and doubtless they were used with effect against the king's enemies, for the English bowmen were the best in the world at Crecy and Agincourt, bear witness. There's a Neolithic flint head, because I imagine these must have been iron arrowheads, because ironworks all around the Horsham district was prevalent at that time. And Julia and I went to, I think it was Newdigate, didn't we? Where we were taken to a place where used to be an old furnace, if I remember rightly, back in
that's correct.
in the Middle Ages, in the sort of reign of Henry VIII. and before iron was extracted in deeper, what do you call them? Not wells, mines. Yes. Anyway, in an old magazine, I also learnt that the last horrible ordeal of pressing to death occurred at Horsham in 1735, and that's something I used to know that, because living in Horsham, in the Carfax, there's an area called Jailers Green, and in and around the centre of Horsham there were 3 jails: one medieval one 18th century one, and one Victorian one, I think. And back in the day, they used to take people and hang them on Jailers Green, and also they did press people. And I imagine it was and we'll probably get to see, or he'll talk about the town hall, which is crenellated and looks like a mini castle, which is now, I think, Beale's or something. It's a restaurant. We actually had a drink in there. We had a meal in there one time. You don't remember? You're looking for the right button. There it is.
No, I don't. I don't remember.
You don't remember? We went in there in Horsham, and we...
Wait.
Yeah, the memory's coming back.
Yeah.
We sat opposite each other. Well, we obviously sit opposite each other quite a few times. But it was a Beale's or something like that. Is it Beale's? Same as the one... Bill's.
It was a Buffalo Bills, wasn't it?
Bill's. I think it was just Bill's, because they've got one in Lewis.
Right. Okay.
I think that's what it was. Anyway, doesn't matter.
You know better.
So it was, and it used to be where they had jumble sales, and I used to go in there and have jumble sales. But interesting thing, well after this book was written, John J. What's his name? John James, not John. Is it John James Haig? The acid bath murderer was. Had a hearing there when they caught up with him for the first time, and he was held in the police station at Bartelott Road. When I left school, I worked for a printing company that moved to Bartelott Road in the old police station, and I either worked in the same area where the cells used to be, or adjacent to where John George Haig in 1949 was held for the murder of Mrs. Duran Durrant, I think her name was, and he was the acid bath murderer who'd done his murders in Crawley, and he was held in the town hall. Now, whether he gets to the town hall, I'm digressing because this is local knowledge that I am aware of. Anyway, he won't write about that because that was after his time, so it's quite interesting. But he says, in an old magazine, I also learnt the horrible ordeal of pressing to death occurred at Horsham in 1735. I had no idea till then that such a gruesome punishment ever existed. At that period, if a prisoner, when arraigned for treason or felony, remained mute, that is, he declined to plead guilty or not guilty, which, by the way, you are allowed to do. They don't tell you. They ask you in court, what do you plead, guilty or not guilty? But there is a third option, and that is not to plead at all, I believe. But they don't tell you that, but that is still a thing. Anyway, back then, if you didn't, you were put to torture of pressing. For this terrible punishment, he was laid down bare on his back upon the prison floor, and there were placed upon his body as great a weight of iron he could bear, or more, until he answered the queries put to him, or that he died. So there we are. Will you answer? Will you answer? More weight, pressed to death. Must have been a gruesome thing. Then followed some horrible details about the execution. How gradually more and more weights of iron, including the blacksmith's anvil, were laid upon the unfortunate man, and still he would not answer any questions. I mean, once he's dead, of course, he can't answer any questions, which would be a bit silly. Anyway, more weights were added until the prisoner died in great agony. The man, it appears, was arrested on suspicion of being concerned in a barbarous highway murder and robbery, some spots of blood and a portion of the proceeds of the robbery being found upon him. Probably, therefore, he was guilty. Still, it seems a mystery to me why he did not plead not guilty and take his chance for being convicted and hanged. For hanging would surely have been a quicker and less painful mode of death than the slow torture of having the life pressed out of him. What do you think? Do you think hanging would have been a better source of death?
Yeah, I think so. Because, well, when your nap's neck first, usually. If not, then you...
If they get the rope right...
Not that I've thought much about this, of course.
No, but if they get the rope... Well, I have, because I've read bits about hangings and places where they used to hang people and all of that. Morbid curiosity.
Yeah, I was going to say morbid curiosity.
What are the lovely people out there in the world of whatever saying?
Greeting each other. Jane says, yes, I can hear you both okay. And how are we both? How are we both? I'm all right.
Yes, I'm all right. Yes.
Half left.
I've lost one of my ears. If you know where it is, let me know. Might be attached to my head. I can never see it. That's the trouble. I keep looking, never see them. Dear, oh dear. Anyway, the following entry in the record roll of the quarter sessions of 1735 goes as follows. Sussex to wit relates to this event. A pretended dumb man committed by Sir Henry Peachy, night of the 16th of May, 1735, was pressed to death on the 11th of August, 1735. So was justice administered in the good old times. Oh. But let us away from the green, sunlit country again to pleasanter thoughts. Anyway, as we motored out of Horsham... Oh, he didn't stay in Horsham terribly long, did he? As we motored out of Horsham... There's so much you could say about Horsham. So much. But we wonder which direction has he gone so we can check it on the map. As we motored out of Horsham, we drove down the narrowest street, and it appeared to be a main street too. Now, I'm just thinking what that could be. Could it be Middle Street, which would be just up and adjacent to the causeway where you were?
Middle Street.
Yes, which is basically, I think, here.
Where street
there.
Oh, that.
That would be the most narrow, I would have thought, but it depends. He's missed out the Carfax. And the interesting thing about the Carfax, apparently there's only 2 Carfaxes in the country, one in Oxford. You have to go at 20 miles an hour around that one these days. And this one you can't drive around anymore because it's been pedestrianised. But it used to be that you could. And when I grew up at Aronside Primary School all those years ago, we went and did a project in the Carfax. And I wish I kept it because it would now be some sort of historical record. But anyway, because that would have been 1973 probably.
Oh, where's the Carfax? Oh, here.
Is that the Carfax? The Crown, yes, that's the Carfax, just there on the top right, that sort of area. Anyway, he goes down the narrowest street. We're trying to get to the end. Julia has to leave by a certain time, so we can't hang about. We've got to get going. I've just got to see where it is. Fortunately, it was short and free of traffic at the time, or I do not know how we would have managed, for it would have been possible to pass a wheelbarrow. It's got to be Middle Street. It's got to be Little Middle Street, which is a very old road in Horsham. You can't drive down it. You can walk down it, and it is a little narrow street. So I'm imagining it's Middle Street, but it may not be. Horsham left behind, we soon found ourselves in a pretty country where shaded woods abounded, and glancing up at a signpost we observed the inscription to Guildford. So it must be on the 286 or it's the 283. I can't remember now. What is the road to Guildford? Which, if you come out of there, you're still pointing at me.
Oh,
that's all right. I do that all the time. Oh, now you've only got half of me. There we go. If you come out, I'm coming over here. Where? Here we are. Oh, the 281. Of course it is. The 281, it comes up here somewhere. Up towards Guildford. So he may go through Clemsfold and Rudgwick. He may go that way. We don't know. We will find out. So yes, if he's on the Guildford Road. Anyway, well, Guildford served well as any other place, which from Horsham is about 20 miles. To Guildford we would go, which was 20 miles on. How about that? There you are. I didn't see that written down, but I know it was 20 miles because I used to cycle from Horsham to my dad's. My mum and dad got divorced. My dad lived in Guildford for a while. And when I was about 14, I suppose, I used to cycle up to see him. It was 20 miles and took 2 hours. Going on average, I suppose, of 10 miles an hour, wouldn't it have been? Anyway, we discovered this by a milestone. And I think there are still milestones, or at least one or two, on the Guildford Road. Whether they're still there, they were, I think, when I was cycling. But we were getting hungry, so we kept a good lookout for a retired spot for a halt and refreshment, and soon discovered one to our liking. Now, I am curious to see if he mentions a pub and if it's still there, because I would have passed it on my bicycle. At one side of the road was a deep and fragrant wood of fir, on the other an inviting meadow sloping gently down to a purling stream. Can't think where that would be. And not a human habitation was in sight. The road, moreover, had a delightfully deserted look, as though little traffic came that way. It's a very busy road. It's a very busy road, very busy road, very, very, very busy road. It's not that busy, actually, but it is busy. And it crosses the railway. He won't be very pleased. It crosses the railway, the Downs link, which goes up to Shalford, I think, from Christ's Hospital, which originally comes from Shoreham. So there we stopped the car. We got down the luncheon basket and spread our rugs in a snug corner of the meadow under the lee of a tangled hawthorn hedge. I know exactly where that is. And close beside the big oak tree, whose spreading branches afforded a welcome shelter from the sun. It was an ideal spot for a picnic. And the weather was ideal too, a day of soft sunshine, with hardly a chemtrail in the sky. With hardly a suspicion of a breeze. There, at God's Green Caravansiera, that's an interesting word, roofed by the blue sky, carpeted by the smoothest of turf, soothed by the quiet murmuring of the stream, and cheered by the songs of birds, we spent a delightful 2 hours. It sounds delicious. It was a spot to dream down hours to moments. A great contentment came over us. Our simple repast, amid such pleasant surroundings, seems super excellent, so much the better than a meal taken within 4 cramping walls. The finest hotel in the world could not command such a room as we had that day. So, God knows where it was. Julia's having a look at the landscape.
Just found a random oak tree. Maybe that was the one.
Maybe.
Maybe not. There's hundreds down there.
Yes, you see, what we don't get is... you didn't show it, did you? Did you link to it? Just forgotten the buttons, there you go. Yeah, that probably would be a sapling back 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, you get the general idea. That's the sort of landscape we're talking about. Give me the needful inn for the night, a country inn if possible. Even then I would rather camp out, were it not for the trouble of carrying a tent and the publicity of it, as I prefer rather to hear the lark sing than the mouse squeak. But for the mouse being a mouse indoors. I wonder what he was on about then. But for the daytime, always the open country with its fresh air and sweet odours, he says, getting into his 1908, whatever it was, Daimler, firing it up and a big plume of blue smoke coming out the rear end, probably. The outer world, writes Stevenson, who's Scottish, wasn't he? "I either knew the outer world, from which we car into houses, is after all a gentle, habitable place." Yeah, if any Scottish people were watching, you'll just see how I absolutely murdered that. Good job I'm not having to do any Welsh, because Sean would be banging on my head. Even when it rained, and without rain at times to keep the green... Even when it rained, and without rain at times to keep green the country, there would be beauty. Where would the beauty of England be? With our hood up and our luncheon basket ever ready, we fared well and comfortably in the car. We never allowed such a trifling thing as the teasing of weather to ruffle us. But as the old proverb has it, weather is the discourse of fools. So I will say no more about it, except that it is a very convenient topic with which to start a conversation when you meet a stranger along the way. And don't we do that all the time? Nice weather we're having at the moment. I don't mind being a fool in a proverb, he says. But I want to know where they are. Let's see if he will reveal. It was very... Excuse me, I might belch. I'm trying not to. It was very delightful after our repast to recline at ease on our rugs and in the bliss of laziness, having no feelings of neglecting any duty in being so absolutely lazy, to simply gaze at the blue sky above and to watch the fleecy summer clouds, not the chemtrail ones, go sailing by. At such moments, life is worth living. And it is interesting how many people do on a journey just stop and lie on the leafy or the grassy knolls and gaze up at the geo-engineered sky. How many people do that? You do it if you've got van and you're doing van life. We would stop off, wouldn't we, have a cup of tea and then spill out onto the thing. It'd be great fun.
Yeah.
And we can't wait for a bit more of the summer because we didn't do very much last year.
No, we were a bit busy.
We were busy, but this year determined to sort of not do too many of the interviews and get away and kind of do more living.
Yeah, enjoy the van a bit more again.
And we could even do a live reading this from a location, which would be good. I mean, if we had the time and the money, we could just follow in the footsteps, as Sean suggested. You know, it would be great to follow in the footsteps and stand where he is and read the passages of the book.
It'd be good. It'd be good.
Anyway, so there we go, wherever it was I was. Then my wife went to gather a posy of wild flowers while I smoked a pipe of peace and felt that after all it was a very good world and only wished that all the people thereon knew how to enjoy it. Well, it is a good world, but we've managed to spoil it, unfortunately. But I was presently awakened from my daydreaming when my wife asked me, "What's the time? What's the time? What's the time?" She didn't speak like that, actually. "Never mind the time," replied I. "It shall be what o'clock I say it is. Time goes, you say? Ah, no. Alas, time says we go." I don't know where that is. It's a bit of poetry. "Life is pleasant here. Let us dally on a little longer. It may even be that there is no such thing as time, only an ever-present now." You see, he was a seer, because that's absolutely true, isn't it? An eternity behind, an eternity ahead, no matter the mind cannot grasp. But a truce to unprofitable reflections. We lingered on till the west was growing gold, and then we resumed our journey. The change from rest to movement is, after all, a pleasant thing, although you could argue they're both resting in the car, so they're not really getting a lot of exercise on this. We drove on in the hush of the late afternoon when the day's work is nearly done. I can hardly say they were doing any work. And a prevailing peacefulness settles over all the countryside. It was a lonely land we passed through, a land rich in rural beauty, though wanting, I think, in memories. For I cannot call to mind anything of historic interest that has happened in all those 20 miles of country between Horsham in Sussex and Guildford in Surrey. And that's a shame, because if he'd gone into Rudgwick, he would have gone to a lovely old pub that we went to with a very interesting church just off the thing. There is a railway tunnel with a disused railway going through it, which of course was probably going through it when he went there, so the tunnel wouldn't have been of use to him. And as you carry on up there's a Japanese school teaching English. We passed that. You would have gone through, is it Adversane, where Chesnu used to be? And I used to cycle past Chesnu, and it was this restaurant. I always thought it was a strange name, and it was about 2/3 of the journey to Guildford. And in recent years, we drove past it, all gone, all houses. Little mini housing estate. And further on now, if you go up that way, there's a big field. We've passed this a few times, and they're building a 15-minute city of new builds in there.
Yay.
And how exciting that is.
Excuse my sneeze, by the way.
And all delightful fields, you know, farmers' fields being transformed, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, so he says there was nothing interesting to see. And then there's a place called the Potteries, as I remember, up there on the right-hand side, a little bit just... And then you go to Shalford and through Bramley. There's some beautiful picturesque buildings there at Bramley. And Shalford, where presumably the end of the Downs link would have been. But he doesn't like railways, so... And that would have been a working railway then. And then you get into... and then you get into pretty much into Guildford. You get on the outskirts of Guildford.
You're keeping up with him, aren't you?
Are you keeping up? Yeah. Julia probably could see... There's Shalford on the map here. Look.
Oh yeah, Shelford down there. Oh, wrong one.
You can't, yeah. Zoom in a bit, and you go on Street View, and you see some beautiful old buildings in Shalford. In the street, of course. Yeah, that's not the street.
Not the street. Great.
Anyway, where were we? So there was nothing. A country sparsely populated, at least for England, it seemed to us, with all the more attractive on the... We passed by close at hand or a little way off, many an old pleasant old world farmstead and many ancient and picturesque cottage with their blue films of poetic smoke curling upwards to the sky. For smoke can be poetic at times. More than once we caught a faint and fragrant whiff of burning wood and felt the homeliness of it, as it reminded us of our own fireside. We had the road almost wholly to ourselves, excepting for an occasional slow-moving farmer's cart or wagon and a few straying sheep and cows, with no one in charge of them, which, when we came along by some strange perversity inherent in their nature, they would meander all over the road directly in front of us. This reminds me of a Sussex incident. One day, on a winding lane, we came to a mighty flock of sheep that most effectively blocked up the narrow roadway as far ahead as we could see. A farmer was in charge of them without even a dog, and after several vain attempts to get by, we appealed to him to help us. "What?" exclaimed he indignantly. "You want all the road to yourself?" But as we prided ourselves of being polite and considerate motorists, we merely begged him not to be put out for the delay he occasioned us, which, if any reader thinks that the words were sarcastic, of course he is at liberty to do so. Anyway, so I suppose, in those early days of cars were a bit of a novelty, and so farmers quite rightly would have gone, "What, you want the whole road? What's the matter with you? Are you going to get my pigs out here, and my farm, and my sheep, and my cows, and my chickens, and my snakes? Are you going to get these snakes across the road somehow?" As we neared Guildford, an undulating range of wooded hills showed forth in front of us. Then inevitable suburban villa began to appear, and still the romance of the road was not at an end, for in vacant space we espied a solitary finger-post pointing to a bridle wave, having thereon the legend, "The Pilgrim's Way." And I wonder if he's actually very close to the River Way, W-E-Y. That legend suddenly set us thinking backwards 300 years or more, for this was the old pilgrim's track that led from Winchester and the west to Canterbury. As Chaucer sang, "From every sheer's end of England to Canterbury they wend, the holy blissful martyr for the shabby-doo." Chaucer was not quite as coherent as I was. These days, the days of serious pilgrimages are over. Well, of course they are. There's too many cones in the road, roadworks, traffic lights and speed cameras. Of course you can't go anywhere in this time. The days of the serious pilgrimages are over, in England at least. But still, this ancient track the medieval pilgrims trod may be traced nearly the whole of its length from Winchester to Canterbury, sometimes in the lowland valley, but mostly along the sides of the lonely hills, where, here and there, the ancient yews that lined the path yet flourish. For the yew is a long-lived tree. We went to Kingley Vale, didn't we?
We did.
And
times.
that is a lovely place if you've never been to it. It's not near Guildford, it's near Chichester.
Yeah, but it is gorgeous. Full of yews.
Full of yews. And we're not talking the mothers of sheep either.
No, not those ones.
But they're a very old tree, and yew is a favourite tree of yours.
It is one of my favourite trees.
It's you and yours.
It's you and yours and me and mine.
They are, I see. Me and mine tree. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Gave me an excuse to have a drink. I've lost my space now. Full of the long-lived tree. The hardy yews, so generally to be found in our country churchyards, may have seen many generations come and go. Kingdoms wax and wane, and yet they still live bravely on. In the old days, every yeoman and every dependent of every yeoman was expected to have a stout yew tree before his door. And to this day, the old trunks may still be seen, which once provided the shafts that decided Creasy and turned the scale at Agincourt. For we know, of course, the old bow and arrow ting, was made from yew. Not you watching this, but yew the tree, of course.
Yew that is old in
Yes.
yard name.
Anyone wanting an object for a few days' tramp through a charming stretch of country with the turf beneath his feet for many a mile might do worse than provide himself with an ordnance map and by its aid explore the ancient pilgrim's way. According to the poet, it should at least be a rest-giving expedition. For if perchance I enter there, life's din and turmoil cease, and for the moment I am in the pilgrim's chamber peace. You're looking at some interesting stuff. Have you found anything interesting, lovely Julia?
I just wondered what the heck that was, but it's nothing to do with the story.
Do you want to put it on the screen so we can see it? There we go.
It's just this
Little farm.
place hidden away. Well, you'd think it was, but there's this car park here. Car park there, a bit of a, like, what is it, a loading runway or something?
Yeah, but is that on old maps? If you find it on old maps, it'll probably just be a forest then.
Yeah, next to Guildford Crematorium. I'm trying to... Peasmarsh.
Peasmarsh.
It's next to Peasmarsh.
Marvellous. Well, I don't know anything about that, I'm afraid. I'll carry on reading whilst you
Please do.
a little bit of research then on a peculiar oddity. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? When you're on a map thing, you see these things and you go, what's that? And you learn something. Or sometimes you...
Been desperately trying to find somewhere relative to the book, but it just moves so quickly.
Yes, and he's not very specific about where he is, but hopefully in Guildford... he's going to let us know. I mean, I love it when he tells us about a pub and the name of a pub, because then we can track it down.
Have a look at it. And,
but
is
not,
that in there? And
not having pre-read the chapter or anything, I can't tell you. So it's all a bit of a,
Sorry.
Any messages coming through?
Sounds lovely. I prefer this part of the book, says Jane UK.
Oh, marvellous. Right, okay, so here we go. Anyway, so I read that. Guildford did not detain us. And again, Guildford's got a number of interesting things. I'm surprised he didn't go up the hill to Guildford on the main high street or to the castle. There was, I think it was Thorpe's bookshop, if memory serves. Beautiful bookshop, second-hand bookshop's gone now, top of the high street. And the high street has a clock with the clock sticking out on a bit of angled thing. And if you go to the Guildford High Street, you'll find that. And it's very memorable. So I'm surprised he didn't mention it. But I have a feeling that he does talk about it in a previous book that we've read. Not read on here. Yeah, there we go. You might need to put it on the screen. And yeah, look at that. That's I mean, it's very nice. And look at those old buildings up there. And you'll be at the top of the hill looking down the hill. The castle somewhere. The castle, there's not much to see. Is it Catherine Hill? It's funny how these facts just suddenly spill out your head. I know, you get all these bloody things when you're doing this stuff. Anyway, I'll let you see if you can find the thingy. So, Guildford didn't detain us, though the day was growing old and the town had a homely, inviting look, for on glancing at our map, we roughly judged that Farnham was only some 10 miles farther on, a distance of no moment in a car. Well, depends on the roads, of course. Now, at Farnham, we knew that there was a good old-fashioned hostelry wherein to take our comfort, with a large and pleasant garden in which to stroll about or rest at ease. But we felt uncertain as to finding the latter luxury attached to any hotel in Guildford. I'm sure there are plenty of hotels in Guildford at that time. So on to Farnham we proceeded without a halt. The certainty of a good inn at the end of a long day's journey is well worth a few extra miles of travel, and makes those miles seem short, so he says. There is a great charm in a pleasant certainty. It makes for a contented frame of mind. Many a time I've driven a score or more miles out of my way to reach a favourite inn for the night, an inn where I know that a hearty welcome awaits me, and where I am treated more as an honourable guest than a mere stranger seeking lodgings. The Premier Inn is one of those that I love to go to, where I'm individually treated in such a unique way. Travel lodges are all right to their point, but... oh no, it doesn't say that, of course. Where my modest bill seems a mere passing incident of a pleasant visit, and is paid accordingly with great cheerfulness and not grudgingly. It is one of the rewards of travel to discover a good inn, and having discovered it, to return there from time to time, so you may dot the country with delightful resting places. That looks very built up there, lovely Julia. Could you show that just for a second whilst I pick my nose? So they can't see me, a little itch up the hooter. Where is that? That's still in Guildford. It is so built up now. Of course, you've got the university. And my dad used to have premises in Guildford where he made things. Is that the castle? Mm-hmm. Ah, there it is. And can you get... yeah, there we go. Get the little man up there to have a little look round. So there's not really much of the castle left. Is that the keep? Presumably that is the keep.
Mm. Right, oh, look at that. The door all the way up there.
Yes. Or is it a door or a window?
It looks long like a door.
Yes. Could be a window, though.
It could be a window, but it looks like something else was here. Look, you can see the crenellation up there.
Oh, yeah.
So there might have been
Can you step further back from it so we see a more... oops.
Well, no, because I was on a... someone had taken a photograph and went there.
Oh, I see.
It to the thing.
Oh, I'm with you.
See what I mean? These little blue dots. Let's try that one. Yeah, all the way over here now. But there was a door like that.
Oh, I see.
So
yeah.
that's what you'd assume.
Oh, right. So you can go up. Good job they had those iron fire escapes in it at the time when they built the castle.
They'd have been wooden though, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah,
like
wouldn't...
the original forts that would have been there beforehand, probably.
That's true. You're too clever for
It
me.
reminds me of the Tower of London.
Oh, yes.
Just looking at that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The bloody tower.
Yeah.
Right, let's continue with the story. Can't remember where I was now. Yes. A long climb brought us to the top of the Hog's Back. Now, the Hog's Back is this ridge. I think it's on the A3, isn't it? The Hog's Back, if my memory serves me correctly. I've been on it a few times. And my dad always used to joke, I see the Hog's Back. I didn't know it'd gone away. Anyway, a long climb brought us on the top of the Hog's Back, as that isolated stretch of hill is curiously called, a hill that rises boldly out of the level country around and extends from Guildford till close upon Farnham. The drive over the Hog's Back is delightful, is a delightful experience in the summertime, for upon the hottest day a cool breeze blows refreshingly across its windy summit. There is not even a village on the way, and but one lonely little inn, though there is a stray house or two whose existence, however, rather emphasises than disturbs the cheerful solitude of the road, when by happy chance there are no other travellers at the time therein. It's a very busy road now. Very busy road, with a few stops to look at the view, and you can stop and you can see into London. You can see what's the city? What's the name of that city with all the high-rise bits? The banking area.
Oh.
I forget what it's called. What do they call that bloody place? You know, in the, you've got Citibank and all of that. The City of London.
Oh, the Square Mile.
Yeah. Oh, there's a name for it, and everybody says. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Where are we going now?
London's over that way, isn't it?
Yeah, to the north, exactly. I've lost my space. The Hog's Back runs east to west and affords a wide, unobtrusive views over the far stretch of the country, both to the north and to the south. From it you look down upon the world, and it's a relief to the eyes to look downwards sometimes. They are so long accustomed to the level or upward glance, except when reading, but then the focus is fixed and short, and the eyes cannot indulge in the roaming over the far spaces. I know of no other such wholly charming 10 miles of exalted embracing road within the same distance from London. Owing to the nature of the ground, There are only one or two rutty, narrow and unfrequented lanes leading up to it, so that the continuity of the highway is undisturbed. It is a road with a purpose. It is, you feel, purely a traveller's road, having no concern with the near at hand. It merely passes through the country, making direct for Winchester and the distance west, and your thoughts go with it on the MA3. And of course, I'm just trying to remember, he goes round Hindhead, but I can't remember if it was in this book No, I think it was the other book he goes round Hindhead that we read. So he's traversed these roads in several books, and it's just dawned on me, because this road will lead you down to Hindhead and round a bit where you go past the Sailor's Grave, and the old road now doesn't go there, but it used to go there, and you can walk there, and we've walked there and made a video there. And we were reading it to each other, but in another James John Hissey, in which he was talking about this, and so it's quite confusing, because in some books he's at one place, and so I suppose he probably drifts over it because he knows it's in another book, or he wants to write about it in another time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. To the north, far below us, stretched a vast and level plain with crowded farms and lessening towers, a plain with no visible horizon, for it faded away into a faint blue mist, a blending of sky and land. To the south, the hillside sloped more gently down to the green sea of woods, and peeping forth from these, we espied here and there the red rooftops, the red roof trees, and gabled ends. Yes, the red roof trees, that sounds weird. And gable ends of cosy cottages far beyond. In long array stood forth the purple hills of Surrey and Hampshire, amongst which Hindhead loomed prominently forth in the gathering gloom. And I mentioned Hindhead. How are we doing on the time with you having to go?
Oh, I've got about 10 minutes.
Got 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. There were roughly grassy wastes on either side of the road, backed by rough bushes and a few stunted, wind-blown trees. And on one of these grassy wastes we observed the gypsies' encampment, with a fire of gathering sticks upon the ground. I ventured to remark to one of the tribe, who was standing without, idling the time away, that he appeared to lead a glorious, lazy life. "And what else do you do, driving about the country?" he retorted, with no great civility in the tone of his remark. Oh. I had hoped to get into conversation with him and learn something of his way of life, but his manner was not encouraging. The gypsy is the only person I meet upon the road whom I find it difficult, if not impossible, to approach. Doubtless he has good reasons for his taciturnity, but his camps are picturesque features of the roadside, which, for the sake of the picturesque, I should be loath to see done away with. Not these days, they're not that picturesque, with the white caravans and the big cars and the loads of litter all over the place. It does seem that they have changed their tune a little bit.
If only they still had the horses and carriages.
Which I assume is what he's referring to,
yeah,
really.
Beautiful, brightly painted.
Yes, a bit like your jumper, really.
Oh, a bit like that, yeah.
You know, nice colours and painted and all of that.
They're painted in the almost carnival kind of colours, like the narrowboats. Yeah, lovely.
But not so more. The gypsy is the only person... Oh, you've read that picture. The gypsy seems to have few friends and many enemies in the countryside. "How I love to see the camps of gypsies," wrote Hazlitt, "and to sigh my soul into that sort of life." Once I ventured to say a word in favour of the gypsy to a good-looking farmer, but he would have none of it. "I know him," he said. "I don't mind missing a few sticks to make his fire, or even a turnip or two to help with his dinner, but I do draw the line at chickens." Then in due course we dropped down to Farnham and to the clustered homes of men. It happened to be market day, so the streets were somewhat crowded with farmers' conveyances, returning home, but we drove into the quiet courtyard of the Bush, where all was at peace. The Bush, I guess, is a pub in Farnham. Now we'll see if we can find the Bush before we have to finish. The Bush represents an ugly modern front to the world, but this portion of added building is given over to commercials. I like that. I like the way he says that. He's given over to commercials. Beyond, after driving through the archway, the eye delights and rests upon the old coaching inn that has suffered little alteration. I bet if you type in the Bush Farnham, it will come up. It is today, as it was in the past, a pleasant and picturesque two-storey structure of no pretentiousness, but suggestive of comfort and good cheer. The outward look of a hostelry tells its own tale as plainly as the human face tells the character of a man. Both may deceive the casual observer, but rarely the practised eye. Is that the Bush? Oh my goodness. So this must be the modern version of it, and you must be able to drive through.
Oh, I'm just trying to get a better angle at it.
Let's see. But I'm wondering where...
Yeah, drive-through bit there, underneath.
Is that the drive-through? Can you go one step
I
forward?
don't think you can anymore.
Oh, there, look at that.
It is. Wow. You can see the gorgeous courtyard beneath.
So yes, as he said, the frontage is a bit boring, but the inside is a bit more interesting. So let's see what he says about the Bush. It is the day at blah, 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 and outward blah, blah, blah. How old is the Bush? I would not like to guess. But it was a flourishing inn of the old coaching and posting days. Its red-tiled roof, a little uneven now in places, is surmounted by a tall weather vane to show the way of the wind. And on its time-toned front, facing the courtyard, may be seen its ancient clock with Arabian numerals that gave the time to the arriving and departing wayfarers in the road-travelling days long before railways or motor cars were dreamt of. And still the clock keeps faithful time. In those leisured days of old, if report be true, much feasting and drinking took place within the walls of this historic hostelry. Oh, here's a picture that Julia has found. Not as grand or as beautiful as I would have thought, but although, oh, look at that. That is somewhat...
That is rather grand.
That is sumptuous, isn't it?
Oh, is that the weather vane up there?
Oh, yeah, that could be it. So that's in the garden at the back. That does look very... Look at that ivy. It's a delightful Georgian hostelry, as he says.
I'll see if I can find any more.
Thank you. Ah, many's the magnum of rare crusted port, of vintage no one could cry fie on, has been drunk by good men of the old-fashioned sort at the Bush. Wonderful men, those jovial ancestors of ours, who could drink off their 3 bottles of port overnight and rise the next morning apparently none the worse for it, really. It was the succeeding generation that did not drink the port that paid the penalty. Our room there faced the restful old garden and had all the charm of a pleasant outlook and quietude. How different to facing the noisy street with nothing beautiful to look upon. Again, I repeat, give me an inn with a garden. We are fortunate during our journey in finding many such. Indeed, as far as my memory serves, more than half the inns we stayed at were so happily provided, an agreeable surprise for us. And that's the end of the chapter. So we've got chapter 7 coming up. And Julia's just looking at some more of the fabulous pictures of this remarkable hostelry.
Oops. I found more from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that looks rather lovely, but
Look at
I
that.
can't get it to go down a bit. But
To get it go down, if you go to the right on the pink bar at the top, on the pink bar,
pink bar.
yeah, a little where there's no, and just click the mouse, and there you go.
Ha. Noted for future reference.
No worries.
Look at that, the images.
Oh yeah.
Are they relief? Are they carved?
And if you right click and select in new tab, not that one. No, not that one.
No, what?
Down the bottom, put image in new. No, the way where you were, click, and that one.
All right.
And then and you've got a plus there, so you could. No, it didn't go very much, but we get a better view, don't we?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
I mean that's it's been dumbed up, as I would say.
Yeah.
It's very pleasant though, very pleasant. You get a sense of what it could have been like in its day. Anyway, That's where we leave them at the bush, ladies and gentlemen, which is rather jolly. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute joy. I hope you've enjoyed it, Julia.
Yes, it's been great. Sorry, I've
We
had much to do, really.
No, I know. It's another time.
Yeah.
Another time. But it's all good fun. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Anybody saying anything jolly and interesting?
Jane UK says, thank you both. Beautifully read, Richard.
Oh, thank you very much. I did a bit better today than I did this morning when I was attempting to read in the past.
And we had Nigel Sadler and Andy Capp join us as well.
Oh, well, I've got my cap on as well. So there we are.
And Andy Capp says we should bring back the Vogue show. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would. Well, we may well do that. It's only in abeyance. It's still there.
Isn't this technically the Vogue show channel?
This
It just got renamed.
No.
Is it not?
No, this is a separate channel called Listen with Vogue. The Vogue Show channel is still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely. But it's the Vogue Show studio.
Of course.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Don't know when the next one will be. Might have a chance to do one tomorrow, seeing as it's Sunday and I've got no interviews or anything. You never know, unless the sun is shining and Julia and I go out, take the kids out somewhere. But if we can do one, I'll do one. I think the week is going to be very busy. So if we can get one in over the weekend, that would be good. Anyway, take care. Thank you very much. And until next time, toodle pippin.
People too. Mm.
And then to turn it off, you need to go and find up
and
there.
You go this way and then
That's
down
it.
a bit, up a
And
bit.
then where it says end stream in the top.
Up there.
Ta-ta. And then you have just to press the end one again. There you go.